Hi, I'm Kevin Rollins. Today I want to talk about really what's going on here in the United States right now with regard to our politics. We're at a very divisive time, and I'm very deeply worried that what's going on right now is going to blow up into a civil war from which we will never recover. And I want to talk about the reasons why I think that we're at this place and what we might do to get ourselves back out of it, at least to start working to heal the divisions. And I think the key part is to know that we have two groups, maybe more than two groups, many more than two groups, but sort of broadly divided into two groups of people who are operating in completely different spheres of information. And a lot of this has to do with one, the urban and rural divides or the suburban divides. So people are living very different cultures and lifestyles in these different places, and there's a lot of concentration of wealth in the cities and a lot of poverty out beyond. And I think that's an important division. And then I think that we need to understand very critically that the partisan realities, the major media has driven the division, one by the constant narrative telling and the creation of sort of official facts by the mainstream media, but also by the sort of anti-narrative narrative, which also has lots of problems with it. And really, these two are not talking to each other. And people are kind of living in a conflict of two different reality visions. But then further, and I think this may be the most significant and the most explosively horrible part of the problem, which is that these social media networks, the design of the systems, which is basically to drive eyeball content, to drive page clicks by keeping your eyeballs on the screen, encourages the most explosive, the most angry things to be pushed to the top. Moreover, people, again, are in their own echo chambers intellectually already. And so when they use these systems, the systems in desiring to give people what they want sort of keeps feeding back on each side it keeps feeding back on each side. It keeps feeding back on each side what they already believe. And so if everyone around you, at least as you perceive it on social media, is saying the same thing you're saying, you're going to have a hard time hearing the other side. And when you do hear the other side, you might be really shocked, be like, what kind of craziness are you talking about? I've never heard this before. What could you possibly mean by that? You're insane to believe that. Furthermore, I think what has happened is we've had these two different cultures that have emerged one around President Trump and one around the woke leftist community. The Trump community has been told by the president, the former president, that he is the source of truth and that everyone else is lying to them and that they should believe him. And I mean, people support their political candidate, which is totally legitimate. And I'm not anti-Trump supporter. And on the left side, we have this thing called wokeism, and the cancel culture that goes with it, which basically is saying, which I think is completely upside down, that if we don't like someone's opinion or if we think it's dangerous in some way, we can't let those people speak. We have to wipe it from the earth, wipe it from the airwaves, deplatform it. And those two forces together, I believe, are causing all those things I've just mentioned are causing the situation that we're heading into. Currently, there's a great concern on the conservative right-wing Trump side that the liberals, progressives, governmental people, the Biden-Harris administration, are going to attempt to start locking them out of every single possible thing. This was heightened by when Parler got knocked out by Amazon, and the thought is that conservatives are not going to be allowed to speak anywhere. When people hear that Senator Ted Cruz could be forced out of the Senate by the majority. People feel like they won't even be able to have a seat in Congress to give their side of things. And these are the things that may cause, if we don't head this off, I think it's even, it's not a zero probability at all. And I sort of wonder if we can head it off, that there will be an attempt to overthrow the government because people feel like that's their only chance to save themselves. But I don't think necessarily Biden-Harris is saying that. And I think that a lot of the issues that regarding the election that people were seeing did not make it into the mainstream narrative. In part because some of the leading claims of the pro-Trump crowd, made by Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani, were just bullshit, basically. And the rest was dismissed. But we do need to look at each of those facts. We do need to find out, if we can take all the evidence and systematically evaluate based on principles of election security, based upon reasonable estimates of what these pieces of evidence actually mean, and compile it and to have, to figure out what actually happened. And I think that, unfortunately, we should have really be doing this way before. We need to take democracy seriously and take our elections seriously, and to make sure on the local level that, one, our local election boards are working well. Two, that our local political parties need to do their jobs to do the monitoring. All the supply chain of all the equipment, of all the ballots, all of this needs to be taken very seriously for this reason, especially when elections are tight and there's a lot of information problems going on. And that's sort of the immediate. I think in the long run, though, we need to follow what my good friend Michael Strong tells us to do. We need to use the Socratic method. We need to use the habit of thought. We need to learn to talk to people about ideas and to ask them valuable questions about why is it you think that, and what would be an alternative? How else could we construe the problem? Could we read this text in a different way and interpret it in a different way? And to practice constantly with our good friends whom we trust, to keep pushing ourselves to figure out what we know is true. And if you go to trustedknower.com, you can watch his video that we did, episode 1, part 2. Also, I'd like to mention my friend Michael Osterlink, my very good friend Michael Osterlink, who is a co-creator of The Free Liberal, which is there in the corner. And his project has always been transpartisan, and to basically get people on these different sides to sit down and talk about why they came to believe what they believe, to find out about what their values are. So if on the one hand, if we can get into this analytical practice where we learn how to think and to figure out what it is someone means or what else it could mean, and to understand what people are saying, that's one part. And the other part is to enter into their values for a second, understand why they believe, why they came to believe this thing. And if we can do those kinds of things, and eventually COVID will come to an end, or at least it will be less bad, and we'll be able to go out and talk. We've got to talk. We've got to go talk to our neighbors. We've got to go talk to people at the bar. We've got to read the local newspaper and get ourselves all back on the same page. We need to produce local newspapers. We need to get out of these computer-generated realities that are destroying our society. And on the last point, you can also think about knowing that the way the computer-generated realities work and the problems that exist, even if it's not malicious in any way. Just imagine, who might be doing this, right? Who would be doing this? What if there was a malicious actor that was purposefully pushing messages into the system to screw us up and to make us hate each other even more? So let's start talking about all those things. Let's work on it. And I'm here to help. We have trustedknower.com. I'm going to try to rebuild freeliberal.com as soon as I have some mental time and energy. We're going to keep making these videos and try to have these conversations through YouTube and on Zoom. So hey, please feel free to reach out to me, and I hope you have a safe and wonderful week. And let's get through this Trump trial and let's not explode. And let's make it better in the future. And let's not let these destructive things, let us not let our own stupidities destroy our country and take away our freedom. Thank you.